I'll bet you something. If you're voting for Zohran, you're probably young and rich, like very well to do, or you moved to New York City in the past 10 years, like you're not from here. Those are his two biggest voting blocks. And the way he's getting those votes is he's selling a scam of a dream. He's saying he's going to make New York City more affordable for the very people that are from here or immigrants or those struggling. And he's going to do that by making buses fast and free and freezing the rent, which will not do for making housing more affordable or inclusive or anything of the sort.
If you thought people like Jasmine Crockett and AOC and Bernie Sanders were total loonies, then you are not ready for the next wave, which is the true extremists that come after them. See, AOC, Bernie, and Jasmine Crockett are just talking heads. They just do this. They do this and they vote occasionally on some crazy stuff that they shouldn't be voting for. The next wave, the Zohran Momdanis, there's a girl running in District 9 in Illinois. There's a new wave of true radical extremists that will push America one step closer to honestly falling to socialism for a brief window and then falling to communism. The same anger and energy and what people would call passion that they show when they're talking about how they want grocery stores to be government funded, and when they talk about getting you a free, basket of things for your babies, which is, the free basket of things for your baby. Hey, that could be a great thing depending on how you make that happen. But when they talk about that and you see them yelling and fighting and all of that, imagine that same anger, but now it's pushed at you. Because you, the person who even voted them in, now you're saying, hey, I don't like this new wave of rules that you implemented. I feel like it's getting restrictive. I know you said you wanted to do this, this, and this, but now this feels like it's different.
Excuse me, sir, I have a question. So I saw on the bus it said, and I see the sign that says fares required. I thought the buses were supposed to be free now, because Momdani just won.
That's fine. That's a good one.
When does that start?
That's never gonna stop.
Never gonna happen?
That was fucking.
All right, well, I want to say I appreciate what you do, my guy. All right.
So, New York City made history. They elected Zohran Momdani, the historic first this or that mayor, a self-proclaimed socialist, who promised the world free buses, free housing, you name it. It's the same playbook. We've seen it before. Promise everything, pay for nothing. And I'm just going to say the quiet part out loud. Zohran knew he couldn't raise taxes. No, he can't raise them without the governor. And she's been crystal clear. She will not raise taxes. He already knew the math didn't work. So he intentionally promised things he knew he couldn't deliver, all to get votes. So hey, he won the election and you have to give the people who they elected. I really don't see the use in people being upset about it. That's who people voted for. But honestly, I think it's a great experiment, and in the near future, we'll all have a front row seat to see what happens when campaign fantasy meets fiscal reality. And listen, the people who really believe them, more than likely they'll be disappointed after 4 years, because Democrat Governor Kathy Hochul is already signaling that Momdani's free bus dream was never realistic.
And one of his many campaign promises, free and fast buses, but Governor Hochul says she's not ready to move forward with the plan. Addie Guajardo takes a look at the challenges Momdani faces.
New York Governor Kathy Hochul is casting doubt on Mayor-elect Zohran Momdani's campaign promise to make buses fast and free. The governor speaking to New York One while in Puerto Rico over the weekend.
I cannot set forth a plan right now that takes money out of a system that relies on the fares of the buses and the subways. But can we find a path to make it more affordable for people who need help? Of course we can.
Momdani stayed on track Monday and touted his vision for the city.
The success of our administration will not only be measured in the questions of the hallmark 3 points of our agenda, but also in the questions of whether public goods are functioning effectively across the city.
A promise many New York riders welcome.
That would be such a big help, It's kind of tough out here.
I think it's going to be great for people.
J.C. Polanco, a political expert and professor at the University of Mount St. Vincent in the Bronx, says Momdani's plan requires clearing a series of hurdles, including safety concerns, bus capacity, and cost.
He's going to need the support of the MTA and the state legislature, really the governor. Here in New York City now, we have about a $452 million shortfall with the MTA. It's one of the major reasons we have congestion pricing, to make ends meet.
Momdani estimates the cost of free and fast buses will total about $800 million a year. In September, he told CBS News New York the loss in fare revenue can in part be covered by increasing the corporate tax rate to 11.5%. and by implementing a 2% tax rate for New Yorkers earning more than $1 million.
Does she raise taxes? She's already said no to that. And would you raise taxes? Would anybody raise taxes in the middle of an election? I don't think so.
Both the governor's office and the MTA tell us they will continue to have ongoing conversations with Mayor-elect Momdani. I'm Addie Guajardo, CBS News, New York.
Kathy Hochul flat out admitted they can't make the buses free. Here's the reality. New York MTA's debt situation is already in crisis mode. Their total debt is projected to almost double over the next decade, jumping from about $44 billion in 2024 to over $87 billion by 2034. I mean, think about it. $44 billion right now in debt is already crazy, but $87 billion by 2034 is absolutely insane. And as the debt grows, so do those annual payments. It's over $6 billion at this point, which means the agency has less money to actually run buses, trains, or expand service, let alone make it all free. So the idea of free buses for everyone sounds great on paper, but under the current budget, it's fantasy. Then thinking you can crawl out all this debt by overtaxing people that's already taxed like crazy? You know, people have a choice. They'll leave. But Kathy herself, she went on CNN and once again said she's not raising taxes.
His agenda is incredibly ambitious. It is, as he has described it, a democratic socialist agenda. Free childcare, free buses, rent freeze, the list goes on. I talked to him on Monday night. He said to me he hasn't wavered 1 millimeter on raising taxes on New York City's wealthiest residents to pay for some of that. Now, Governor, you have said repeatedly that you would not raise taxes. You said, quote, I've said there's no new income taxes. Do you stand by that promise?
Yes. Again, what I find so fascinating is all this conversation about how I'm continuing to lead New York State. I'm the one putting money back in people's pockets and cutting middle-class taxes, as I've done, and finding ways to support child care. These are areas where I'm aligned with Zohran Momdani, and we'll work on this and build more housing so people can have a roof over their heads in New York City.
And just like that, New York City free buses are a thing of the past. Zohran Momdani ran his campaign and promised his supporters, if you vote for me, I'm going to provide you free bus services, rent control apartments, government-run grocery stores, all the amazing things. One, he never had the power to do any of that. The power, the authority, he could never do that. But he said it, and you guys ran to the polls in droves to vote for free buses. Well, you're not getting them. You know why? Because in order for the bus service to be free, they'd have to raise taxes. So remember when I said nothing is free? Somebody was paying for that. And I've seen videos of his supporters saying, well, we'll just make the rich, wealthy people pay for it. They're not. You can't make people use their money to pay for your free. So that's never going to happen. Governor Hochul is already super unpopular in New York. She may be considering re-election. So now her campaign is going to be, I'm not going to raise taxes. And that's how she thinks she's going to win. So the mayor and the governor are running in direct opposition of each other in New York. And you guys believed so much so that you voted. You gave your vote away for free buses that you're not going to get. You're not going to get free buses. There's not going to be any rent stabilization. There's not going to be any government-run grocery stores unless that's her agenda.
Yeah, Kathy, she's going to say she's in full support of Zohran because she needs those votes. But he said he's going to have free buses and free child care, and she said he can't do it, flat out.
Governor Kathy Hochul later spoke to reporters where she was asked about Zohran Momdani's policy promises, especially his dedication to try to see if he can nudge Hochul on taxing the rich and raising or attempting to generate other revenue sources such as a corporate income tax, etc. But Momdani has also said that he would accept other means of getting that money for his programs. But, however, Governor Kathy Hochul appeared to throw cold water on his idea for a free bus program from the MTA, explaining that she's already invested a lot of money into the system. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
I cannot set forth a plan right now that takes money out of a system that relies on the fares of the buses and the subways. But can we find a path to make it more affordable for people who need help? Of course we can. And
what about child care, though?
Child care I already committed to. So we'll be on a path to get there because I'm committed to this as a mom governor. I get it. But also to do it statewide right now, it's about $15 billion. The entire amount of my reserves.
translation, that's another no. So no to free buses and no to free childcare for all. Kathy claims she's already working to make childcare more affordable, but she can't make it free for everybody, saying her emergency reserves couldn't even cover that. So if the Democrat governor herself is saying there's no money for these things and she won't raise taxes, then what? Where's the money coming from?
But now let's talk about what he ran on. Lowering rent, taxing the rich, going after charter schools that are draining public funds, fare-free buses, amongst other things. But my question is, where are the funds going to come from? Because a lot of these ideas sound amazing, but they are very radical and are very far-fetched. For example, free childcare could cost $6 billion. Making buses free could cost $700 million to $1 billion per year. Expanded rent protection, public housing upgrades, social programs. One of the biggest policies he ran on could potentially cost $3 to $4 billion per year. So we're looking at potentially $10 to $12 billion per year on all these things that were promised. And in order to pay for this, Momdani has proposed to tax the wealthy, incomes over $1 million, an extra 2% tax. And he also wants to raise corporate taxes to about 11.5%. Now, is tax the rich going to pay for all of this? Probably not. So there either needs to be several trade-offs, deep budget cuts somewhere else, federal funding, which that's a joke after all the threats that our president has been making, not going to happen, or help from the state, which only happens if NYC government is on the same page. The governor, the legislators, city council, etc. need to be on the same page, and that's the real challenge. Because the mayor can't do all of this on his own. This is a government with checks and balances. And a lot of the time we get so excited from the sweet talk and what's promised to us and people telling us what we really want to hear that we forget to follow through. And everything fades out and then we wonder why nothing changed. And that happens time and time again.
Congratulations, New York. You just elected a man who promised that he was going to pay all of your bills using the money from anyone who makes over $1 million a year. So before we fast forward to the oops, we're broke part of this story, let's talk some numbers. Currently, there are roughly 80 to 90,000 millionaires that live in New York City and about 125 billionaires. And between those two groups, they already cover about 48% of all of the city income taxes. But now Momdani would like to jack up their taxes another 2%, as well as hike up corporate rate taxes on top of it. And y'all are all out here thinking that he sounds like Robin Hood. But here's what's actually happening. 10 to 15% of those millionaires are already planning to leave. Another 10 to 15% of the billionaires are shifting residency or moving operations out of the city. And another 3 to 5% of major companies are preparing to relocate entirely. Sorry, I left my crayons at home for this one, but that is a guesstimated $1.3 to $2.4 billion in lost tax revenue every single year. And when that money walks out the door, the city is not going to be chasing the rich. It's going to be chasing you. Because when the top leaves, the bill always trickles down. So when your rent starts to climb and your city taxes rise and your grocery bill goes up again, it's not because the rich got greedier. It's because your mayor ran the investors, the jobs, and the tax base out of town. And the only thing that's left to tax then is you. Is this the part where I say, I hope you get everything that you voted for?
Look, the only way they'll get the extra money is to raise taxes, but Kathy says she's not backing down. She won't be bullied by Zohran's mob and clapped back at an audience chanting for her to tax the rich. She was super defiant and told them the more they push her, the more she won't do what they want. She's standing 10 toes down on this whole thing with this who gon' check me boo attitude.
Who gon' check me boo? Hear you? But I'm the type of person, the more you push me, the more I'm not going to do what you want. Okay? So little lesson to all of our friends out there. But
I'm from Buffalo. We don't put up with a lot of crap. So I just want to set the stage that, you know, you look at the history of people who've run multi-million-dollar ad campaigns to try and get me to change my position. I don't change my position. So I just want to put it out there. I respect people's opinions. I respect the proper place to convey them. And so I've said to people, I hear you. And that was important. But also, there is a time and place.
It's looking like another major fight is brewing. Who's going to win this one, Kathy or Zohran? Some people are thrilled about Zohran's victory, others not so much. But hey, give the people who they want. That's the thing about elections. He won. So whether you support him or not, you've got to deal with the results. Now, I keep hearing about all these folks getting ready to flee New York for Florida, and southern states. And I'm gonna need y'all to stay right in New York City. Don't go run into North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, or Texas. Stay put. Y'all keep supporting certain people and policies, then turn around and say they're destroying your city, when it falls apart. And when they completely squeeze you out, you pack up and go running from the mess you helped make. It's the same story every time. People let California collapse, then flee to Texas. They're in Houston, Dallas, Austin. Or folks leave New York City and move to North Carolina or Atlanta, bringing those same broken ideas right along with them. Next thing you know, Atlanta prices going up. Charlotte prices going up, making life tighter for the people really from those areas. That's why Mexico City was going off telling foreigners to go home, including the ones who came from America, running down to their country, trying to find a cheaper place to live after places like California destroyed them financially. They said, get out of our country, you're making our prices go up, making it hard for them to afford housing in their own country. They protested against gentrification, and that's why. But I digress. Let's go ahead and get the conversation started. Tell me what you think about this below. Special thank you to Keena. I appreciate you, Keena, for all of your support for the channel. You can show your support as well. The link to PayPal is below. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis, want the truth from a woman's perspective? Then you're going to want to subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to like and share.